How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to the Fruit of Grisaia, and welcome back to our journey with Yuuji and his insane classmates. Well, they're all insane. He's insane, they're insane, the whole school system's insane. We're continuing on with more adventures. There's really not a substantial plot to really go back on, just other than the fact that we just had some Willing and Michiru. We beat up some thugs last week. That was fun, because apparently someone put a hit on us on the dark web. Not necessarily to kill us, but, you know, still, it's a hit on the dark web. Terrifying stuff. So yeah, maybe we'll be able to find out that secret, because so far that's the closest thing to like a potential running plot that we've got, because that's like there's somebody conspiring to hurt us. Like, that'd be good to find out what's going on. So let's just jump into it and see how things play out. But thank you for joining me. Hope you have fun. All right, after middle school, you won't be popular with the girls if all you can do is fight. You need brains too. Or so my master taught me. I don't know. Sometimes brains is something you can work on, but it's not something you can guarantee yourself. Like, you can't just be clever, but you can definitely improve your foundation. You can definitely like boost the access you have to information. You can actually use it, which is really what the benefit of being in the modern world with the internet is. If you're watching this on YouTube, you have all the tools necessary to be able to learn what you need to learn to try and make a difference in your own life. In fact, there's a lot of cool posts I've seen, and I think it's going to be the direction a lot of people need to start going, like younger generations and like subsequent, like the kids that grow up today are hopefully going to catch on to this, and hopefully we as like the older people who have already lived through some of the crap, you know, like we're not like boomers or anything, but like, you know, we're old enough, we figured stuff out. Like, even if you're in high school, like, you know more than your younger siblings might. It's like, maybe we should start trying to help them understand that, like, success doesn't just come from getting a degree. In fact, that's becoming a bit of the opposite, where getting a degree guarantees you're in debt, doesn't necessarily guarantee you success. And so what you get a degree in, and the idea of, like, maybe trade school is a better option. Maybe, like, developing a skill set is a more important, like, endeavor. Like, I think that we're going to be seeing a lot more structure, support, and ultimately stability in the jobs that have been sidelined, like being a plumber, being a carpenter, being an electrician. A lot of those got pushed aside, saying like, oh, that's what dumb people do, because like smart people go to college and get a degree, but half the degrees now don't do anything or mean much, because like half the jobs want you to come to a like they want to get you in a they want to accept people in a starter position with starter pay, but with years of experience. There's no middle ground for that, and it sucks because it makes it difficult. So unless you're going into the STEMs, you know, like the solid, like math-based, science-based, like research and development systems, going into like the medical field or tech, you're not gonna be finding. It's going to be difficult to know how stable that future is, especially with the advent of AI. Heck, even at this point, lawyers, which always felt like a sturdy, like getting into legal was always a sturdy option, that might become a problematic issue now, because a lot of the busy work of legal can be handled by AI relatively easily. Now, it needs to be, you need real lawyers to double check the work, and it's not as easy, but I mean, I'd say an AI is about as fallible as a human when it comes to like, oops, they can make mistakes. So as long as like most work would get checked anyway. So it's like that's the whole idea. So it's like the world's going to be changing, and you can't ever predict that. So the best thing I think we can do is just tell people that there are other avenues and there's other opportunities that might be out there you might not consider. Anyway, gosh, already on tirade, barely started. I've been digesting a lot of interesting content lately, primarily because, well, algorithms decided I want to watch it, and also because I was looking up questions about, you know, what are options I have now that I'm finding that my health isn't getting much better. I have to change my perspective on what my realistic opportunities are. And so I've been looking into opportunities that might be a little bit off track, and trying to see if there's a skill set I could work on that can actually like help me with something in the future. And I'm testing waters on some stuff, because I don't like sitting idle, and I don't want to feel like I'm doing nothing. I'd love it if I could make YouTube and writing a career, but that's something that takes time and process, and there's no I want to work on my own skills at the same time. Anyway, so Master taught me, guys with brains more important than brawn. So are you smart then? In response to the obvious question, my master replied that women are more popular if they're a little dim-witted. That seems like a double standard. I think she might have intended it as a joke, not that it was remotely funny. My master wasn't much of a comedian, but there's one thing I have to thank her for. Specifically, she's the one who really got me hooked on reading, which is really good. Reading's fantastic. There are a vast number of books in this world, and the majority are interesting in some way. Even if you get stuck with a seriously dull one, if you look at it critically and figure out why it's a failure, the time you spend with it isn't a complete waste. Definitely, I'd agree with that too. I think that also kind of constitutes with visual novels. One thing that's interesting is that I can see people being heavily critical of a lot of visual novels, even ones that I've covered on the channel. Probably some of them, like, well, the past, like Panther Maidels, that was a fun one. That was more of a joke than anything else. And then like Sound of Drops Fall into Poison, I thought was a really solid title. But like I know there's a lot of criticism about it. And the Sunrider series, like I hear people either love it or they just think it's dumb. And so you get all those varying opinions. But I think even if you don't necessarily agree with or see a lot of value in a VN for yourself, I think this is what's critically important. It's like even looking at it critically and like analyzing it can teach you. And so that's something on the channel. Like if I start a visual novel and I'm not really sold on it, even if I'm probably going to finish it because at the very least I can I would say constructively critique it. Because I'm not out here trying to destroy dreams or trying to say like, oh, you're terrible what you do, because it's not true. Most of us are learning. We're allowed to grow. But part of that growth is being willing to like put yourself out there and then look at the feedback. Again, so one of the reasons why I have my content, like if you go back to the beginning of my channel, you'll see all my original video postings, despite the fact that I was terrible at editing, my audio quality was awful, and just frankly, I was a mess. But that's the thing, is like I've changed, and I don't want to try and erase that past, even if it doesn't ever perform well, because personally, I like it when I can go back into the history of of YouTubers that I follow and see where they started. It's very inspirational for me. I devoured books like an addict when I was a kid. And my master would get me anything I wanted to read, even comics or porn mags. It's a darn good thing you can enjoy reading. Why? It lets you make use of your time and spending... Let's try that again. Lets you make use of the time you spend waiting in the dentist's office, doesn't it? Am I supposed to laugh now? Not to say that I've gained much wisdom from what I read in the waiting rooms, but I think I can at least smile at those words today. Makina, you here? Alright, this'll be interesting. Every time we interact with Makina, it's a bizarre experience. Oh, wow, look at her room though. First of all, you have like your crawfish that we found in the pond. That's pretty cool. And you got all these cute little stuffed toys, but they're not like what I would expect. They're almost more like collectibles. Oh, they're from different parts of the world. That's what it is. That's cool. Hey, Makina, why aren't you in your own room? Wait, this isn't her room? Because that's definitely the crawfish that we found in the pond, right? Like that was with Makina. Am I misremembering it? True. Yes, there was a note on her door. Thing is, the paper was yellowed and wrinkled. There's no telling how long it'd been up there. Are you always in Amane's room? Okay, so this is Amane's room, but it's got stuff that I imagine is Makina's in here, which is just... that's weird, right? Yes, the room I've just entered in is in fact Amane's. Looking around, a good half of the room is buried in random junk. I guess Makina's been doing her best imitation of a squirrel preparing for hibernation, despite things being a little by little with every visit. Yeah. So she just comes and visits all the time, and every once in a while she just brings something and then like leaves it. Amane just like, oh well, she just forgot it. I'll just stash it here. And then next thing you know, Makina's practically moved in. Yeah, that's a good. If I need a thumbnail for this video, this is a good one. I appreciate the neighborly spirit, but this isn't your room.
Makina, 誰か来たの? はーい、お兄ちゃんが来たのよ。ん？ああ、ユージくん？何？どうしたの?
Welcome back, coconuts of censorship. Nothing much. Just stop by to lend Makina a book.
何の?
Are we just going to not even mention it, which I think is really cool. Pretty pretty sigma, I guess you could say, if we go for the meme. It's for that thing. I point towards the one item in Makina's pile of junk, an aquarium containing her crawfish. She asked me if I knew any books with detailed instructions on raising crawfish, so I took a look around the store by the station.
ああ、あんたが原因か、あのザリガニ。この子いきなり部屋に持ってきたかと思えば、青くするって言い出してさ。
Well, I don't think it'll turn blue. Well, maybe it will.
最初は洗面器に入れてたんだけど、夜中に逃げ出すもんだから水槽セット買う羽目になったのよ。
Yeah, no, you definitely wouldn't want that thing just sitting in a sink all night. It wouldn't be happy, you wouldn't be happy, that's terrible. Sorry about that.
別に責めてるわけじゃないわよ。この子が生き物に興味を持つのは悪くないことだし。ね、本は本。
Here, this is it. The part about raising crawfish starts on page 38. The last two pages talk about getting them to turn blue.
ありがとう。早速読むのよさ。
As soon as Makina accepts the book from me, she slips down on the spot with a thump and starts to riffle through the pages.
つーかさ、本当に青くなるの？
I would guess it's more based on breed than anything else. When I tried this experiment as a kid, there was a range of variation among the individuals, but most of them did turn some shade of blue.
なんか面白そうね。
By the way, Amane, I have a question of my own. Do you mind?
何？
Why exactly are you constantly naked?
ああ、別にいつもじゃないっていうか、今私シャワー浴びてるところだったのよ。
Perfectly reasonable, and this is her home, technically. If she wants to be strutting her stuff around her own house, I mean, that's her prerogative. It was weirder, honestly, that she was doing this in our room, because even if you justify that she used to just do that, like, it would clearly become our space, and so that was really weird and kind of off-putting. But this is oddly less off-putting because, well, maybe I've kind of been broken in, but also just the fact that, like, this is technically her space. Like, she can do what she wants. If it bothered us, we just wouldn't be here, or we'd be doing the typical main character, like, you know, like, being all awkward and stuff. I see.
つーか、突っ込むの遅くね？
I'll try to work on that. But, I mean, I think you do the whole Kia thing and hide your chest before I got a chance to bring it up, usually. Amane, no more concerned with my glance than before, walks briskly to her vanity and flips on a hair dryer.
私って汗っかきでさ、夏場は1日3回ぐらいはシャワー浴びるのよね。油断してるとおっぱいの下に汗もができたりで大変なのよ。
I mean, I'll assume that's right. I don't have personal experience in this regard, but it sounds like it would be a legitimate problem, especially if you've got the types of assets that Amane has, you know. Big tits are tough in their own way, I see.
ね、お兄ちゃん、なんか飲む？
Yeah, if you're offering.
じゃあ、ちょっと待っててね。今用意するのよさ。
Makina places her book on the floor, opens Amane's refrigerator, and promptly sticks her hand in and starts rooting around like she owns the place. I mean, she essentially does. It's basically as much her room as Amane's at this point.
なに？なんか言った？
Just how long has Makina been hanging around in this room?
そうね。マキナがこの学園に来てからずっとかな。この子、一人だと夜中に大声上げて泣くから。
It's kind of heartbreaking, actually.
失敬なのよさ。今はもう泣かないのよ。時々自分のお部屋に帰って寝てるもの。月に一度帰るかどうかじゃない。しかも私に怒られた時とかそんな時ばっかり。
Interesting how that coincidence happens to work out.
ねえ、お兄ちゃんはああやって意地悪なことばっかり言う女をどう思う？
That's a pretty aggressive tone you're taking. They say it's a rare thing to find a woman other than your mother who will nag you. Take good care of her, all right?
お兄ちゃんまでそんなことを言う。随分と住みにくい世の中になったものよさ。飲まなきゃやってられないのよさ。
Stop talking like a boomer. As she speaks, Makina hands me a can of orange juice. Look, Makina, can we do something about this Oni-chan thing?
なんで？
I don't know. It just seems odd. Well, how can I put this? Feels a little awkward.
そのうち慣れると思うのよ。私もマキナって呼ばれるの慣れたし。
What do you mean? You don't like being called by your own name?
実はね、私マキナって名前あんまり好きじゃないのよさ。
Okay, well, would you have a preference we called you something else? Oh, and why is that?
なんかマキナってバギナみたいなのよさ。
You know what? That's definitely... I mean... Is that translated correctly? Because Makina kind of shares similarities in that to the English translation, but like, is that Japanese correlation also there? I mean, kind of sounded like it, but I don't know for sure. I don't think Japanese is far from a language I can understand. What?
だからバギナ。
Oh, okay, so she's saying it like the English version. I see. Well, that's interesting.
でもね、バギーナって言うとなんかアイドルっぽいよね。
Yeah, whatever you say. Hey, Amane,
何さ。
is this girl high? Just what are you putting in her food?
失礼ね。何も変なものは食べさせてないわよ。
I don't know. So she says, but I mean, it's like talking to someone who's just gotten an injection of that weird night vision hormone from the squad medic before the midnight raid. Feel like I'm dealing with one of those people who can see things they shouldn't see and hear voices they shouldn't hear. I instinctively drop my hand on Makina's head and vigorously ruffle her hair around.
いてよ。
Oh, your pupils don't look dilated.
そんなに疑うならあんたも食べてく。
What a subtle way to invite us to dinner. I actually kind of appreciate that one. What?
だから晩ご飯。今夜はおでんにするつもりだから人数増えても平気だし。ほほー。おでんというと。違います。あなたが今想像したのは北欧神話の最高神です。
Okay, I was wondering what she was talking about, but yeah, no, she's like Odin instead of yeah, nope. These two, they're not only strange, but together they get even stranger. But look at that, like, so Makina got this, like the smarmy look, but Amane's got it too. It's like it almost feels like they're siblings now. This is getting really strange.
ポケをインターセプトされた。がっかりなのよさ。
The hell?
ああ、いいからいいから。食べていきなさい。
Hey.
下手に断ってアマネーに恥かかせちゃダメなのよ。いいからおいで。
You gotta understand, you got lured into the trap now. Like, you just gotta let it happen, buddy. Makina seizes my hand and tries to forcibly drag me farther inside. Well, alright, fine. There's probably won't be anything I dislike in an Odin stew anyway. I'll eat pretty much anything that's put in front of me, but I do have some foods I find a little difficult to deal with on a psychological level. Okay, I wonder what.
ここ座って。
Uh-oh. Yeah. Offered a cushion with a cute, girly design, I sit down a bit reluctantly. In an instant, Makina has plopped herself down top of my knees. Oh boy. Oh my gosh. Okay, I'm crossing lines I'm not comfortable with. Hello, coconuts again. Well, just one, but still. Look, you...
何さ。
Why are you sitting on my lap?
え、嫌なの？
That's not what I'm saying, but... The line's familiar. I hadn't realized until now, but Makina seems to have a habit of imitating Amane's speech. Now that I think about it, that you know she's always tagging on to the end of her sentences for no particular reason seems like she might be corruption of Amane's frequent you know. And Makina's forcible tone and attitude towards men also reminds me of a certain someone. They do say pets start to resemble their owners. Someday this girl might well become the sort of evil woman who walks around with her teeth hanging out halfway out, seducing struggling shopkeepers into giving away their livelihood. We can't have that. To tell the truth, from my current position, Makina's modest breasts are clearly visible. For those of certain tastes, these things might have power to tempt exceeding that of Amane's oversized udders. Alright. We're gonna have this conversation. Alright, well, okay. Age is age, and you can't justify that this is problematic in the sense that everybody who's in this sitting is of age, and at least in Japan would be at the age of consent, if I remember correctly, which is questionable, but, you know, that's their culture, not mine. Don't really have a say in it. The other hand, pointing out that, yes, character designs can tend to lead towards people's personal tastes, and those personal tastes are what people tend to have problems with. And this is probably the kind of content that gets visual novels in trouble, right? Because people, especially who just, like, flip through to, like, see what they should rate the content, would see something like this and be like, oh gosh, this is terrible. It's encouraging, you know, people who predator after younger people. It's like, no, not necessarily. Like, there are plenty of people who grow up who look on the younger side. Heck, even if you watch To Catch a Predator, some of the investigations they do on that show, they have actresses and actors who kind of play the part of the young teen who's kind of been involved in the entire altercation. That kind of helps kind of bring make the situation feel real, and like allows for the sting to kind of be effective. And there's one girl in particular who they got in who was like in ballet, and she was in acting, and she was 19, but frankly, like, she had a much younger looking, like, form. Like, she looked really young, especially if they did her hair and her, like the style that she dressed in the right way. Like, she easily could pass for being 14. That's not her fault. That's a real thing that people have, and some people would find that smaller, more petite girls are more attractive. But, like, there's a line that gets problematic because you can hyper accentuate the types of, the looks of characters for anime and visual novels. And while that seems like it'd be pretty much a no-brainer, because it's like, yeah, it's an animation, you're going to over-embellish. I mean, look at characters' hair in anime. Like, traditionally, it was just a way to help you keep track of main characters, because otherwise it was impossible, because if everyone all had the same haircuts and same colored hair, they all would look the same, because, sorry, microphone. Individual faces in animation tend to look very similar because it follows a style. So hair color, like overall like look and dress style, like that's the way you differentiate characters. And so it's this really odd toss-up where it's like there's really plentiful and fantastic justifications for character designs, but other people would see this as still problematic. And I think that that's a valid concern to the point where you start making it impossible for anybody to consume material because of these, like, because of your perspective on things. That's where it gets problematic. But anyway, this whole rant is just kind of to come to the conclusion that it isn't just that she's smaller, but it's also just the personality and the Oni-chans and like her, like the way that she talks and the way she reasons things. She's going to feel like the younger sister, younger character to me. And so I've got to say right now, for me, as much as Makina might be a fantastic character, I wouldn't really be interested in her route. But like, I also just think it's not fair to throw shade at people who would be playing the game and enjoying her storyline. But like, again, there's weird lines you got to deal with a story like this. And you got to wonder, like, is there a point where you say fan service goes too far? This is tiptoeing towards that border, in my opinion, because it's so kind of explicit. It doesn't really tie to the narrative as much. Like, Amane's at least kind of does, because it's just clearly her personality. But this looks like it's just negligence. But I guess that kind of matches her personality, too. I don't know. It's like, there's some times where it feels like, oh, it's part of character development, it's part of like the natural progression of a relationship, and there's other times where it feels like it's just an excuse. And the more it becomes just an excuse, the more I find it distasteful, because it feels like then it's just trying to like bait people rather than telling a powerful, impactful story, which can have fan service in it because it makes sense for the narrative. Anyway, blah, blah, blah. So much ranting today.
Huh? Nani?
Hey, Amane!
何よ、今手が離せないんだけど。
Why does this girl jump into men's laps without a second thought? I'm leaning towards blaming you.
はあ？嫌なら下ろせばいいじゃない。
I'm not saying I hate it, but if she starts casually hopping on top of strange old men in town, I think we might run into some problems.
大丈夫よ。言ったと思うけど、マキナって結構人見知りするから。っていうか、あんたたち、いつの間にそんなに仲良くなったの？
Oddly, it was because I talked to her like a person. Well, we've had a couple chances to talk recently, I guess.
それにしたって、この子がこんなに早く男の人に懐くのって初めてよ。あんた、マキナに何したの？
Exhibit A, crawfish in the tank. That was us. Nothing particularly comes to mind.
男の人とは話すのだって苦手なのに、マキナとまともに会話できる男の人って八百屋のおじさんぐらいよ。
That a fact. So why has Makina gotten so attached to me? I don't remember taming her with food or teaching her dirty games behind mommy's back. I searched my memory, but nothing really stands out. I don't know, it's pretty clear to me. You got down on her level, you talked to her like a person, and you didn't, like, dismiss her because of her mannerisms. And you also didn't treat her like a child, like, that wasn't reciprocal, right? Like, it was like, you interacted with her. You respected her opinions, and you even took the time to kind of, like, show her something that you knew that was interesting, that she might find interesting with the crawfish. Like, it's because he treated her like a person. It's so sad that that can make that big of a difference, but actually it's something I've seen in my life. I was actually having this conversation yesterday with somebody saying, like, look, I grew up with tons of friends, like, who simply just needed people to talk to sometimes. And so like, you get one-on-one time and you just end up chatting and you'd end up hearing these stories. And like some of them are traumatic, some of them are interesting, some of them are strange, but like they would talk because they just needed someone to talk to who wasn't going to judge them or shut them down or try and like top them by saying like, oh, well, you think that was bad. Look at this, what happened to me. Sometimes people just want someone who genuinely is invested in learning who they are and learning about them. That can make all the difference in the world.
ね、お兄ちゃん、これ開けて。
Completely disinterested in my ruminations, Makina pushes her orange juice toward me and tilts her head to the side as she asks for help. A pretty standard pattern among women playing the moe type, who would try to tickle the male heart with an appeal of their own helplessness, but Makina's fingers are so stubby and thin, it's clearly genuine. Yeah, here you go.
ありがとう、お兄ちゃん。何？なんかあんたたち本当に仲がいいわね。マキナがこんなに人に甘えるのって珍しいわよ。
Are you jealous? And if you tried to pull something like that, I'd probably punch you, right?
なんで私本人に同意を求めるかな。それで私になんて答えろっての？
So she doesn't just let anybody pamper her like this?
そうね。私以外にそうやってベタベタすることってほとんどないかな。
I see. Whether or not Makina's paying any attention to our conversation about her, she continues to flip through the book on my lap without comment.
もうマキナ、おっぱい見えてるってば。ブラしなさいっていつも言ってるでしょ。
Okay. While I agree with the sentiment, Amane, you have no room to talk.
だってあれきついのよさ。きついって言うほど出っ張っちゃいないでしょがあんた。いいからおいで。もうちょっとで読み終わるのに。ほら、着せてあげるから立ってん。
Amane reaches her hand under Makina's armpits and forcibly drags her off my knees. A sense of emptiness might be going a bit far, but the sudden removal of that limp, warm creature from my lap leaves me feeling slightly lonely. Aww. It's kind of cute in a weird way.
はい。ちゃんと自分の足で立つの。うんよ。いた！もう足踏んでるし。ごめんよ。もう。ほら、キャミ脱がすから万歳して。万歳。
Hey, how about having her put her clothes on by herself?
この子、服着るの下手なのよ。っていうか、服が嫌いなのね。病院ではずっとスモックしか着てなかったって言うし。
That makes sense. It's kind of sad, though. I've been to the hospital enough. I'm fairly familiar with those gowns. It's actually kind of depressing how often I've had to go to the hospital in my lifetime. It's one of those things where like I think of myself as being relatively healthy, and then I think back and I'm like, and if I try and recount like the amount of times I've had to go to the hospital, you'd probably be shocked because it's like you know, sometimes when you go to a new doctor's office and you have to fill out paperwork and they ask for your like history and they ask for any like potential like past surgeries or major like medical like issues, they never have enough room. I have to try and summarize it, and they always ask me afterwards, and I kind of have to explain, like, everything else. And it's like, I've never thought of myself as sickly, but especially with recent times, maybe I've just been wrong the whole time, and I have been on the sicklier side, and I've just, until recently, it hasn't kept me down too much. You know, I was able to bounce back every time and, you know, kind of get back into the swing of things. And only now, with something so chronic, it's becoming a bit more of an issue. Gowns.
ほら、病院で手術を受ける人が着るやつ、背中で縛って着るの。
By the way, those suck. I hate gowns. The hospital gowns are horrible. They're just so uncomfortable. Ah, right.
あればっかり着てたせいか、ゆるっとした服じゃないと嫌がるし、こうやって誰かが服を着せてあげないと、パンツすら履かないのよね。ちょっと。まあね、痛いよ。我慢しなさい。こうやって背中と脇の下から脂肪を寄せ集めてカップに詰めるの。
What fat?
そうすればほら、ちょっと出っ張るでしょ。
She's like a twig. Where's the fat coming from?
息苦しいのよさ。女ってのは息苦しいものなのよ。はい、できた。どう？巨乳
？Yep, they're shockingly big. What'd you eat to get a pair like that?
パン？あとイチゴ。そりゃ単純にあんたの好きな食べ物でしょうが。
I mean, she's not lying. So, Makina likes bread and strawberries best, huh? Kind of childish taste, but I guess that fits with her personality. Also, what's wrong with childish taste? I was watching like a little video and someone was talking about like making sandwiches, and like they were talking about like doing something and like saying like, and some of you might decide to cut the crust off, and he said like, and if you're an adult who decides to cut the crust off, good for you, live your life. And I was like, that's a good point. Like, it sounds childish, but it doesn't make sense to force yourself to do something you don't like. It's like I always was told that the crust like was good for you, or like it was like the best part or like the healthiest part. That's a load of bull crap. I've cooked bread. I know how it works. The crust is just the crust. It's just the same stuff, just a little bit thicker and a little bit more like well done. You don't have to eat that. I grew up being told I had to eat it. It kind of made sense with an apple because an apple skin actually has nutrients inside it because it's a different type of material than the inside of the apple. But bread, it's just bread. It's the same thing. It's so weird that people might get so hung up and if you call it childish, whatever, fine. But we're adults. Why can't we just do something that if it makes an experience better, especially when it comes to food? And frankly, cutting away more food is almost better than anything else. Anyways, it was like why make a deal about it? I don't know. Maybe it's the whole like special snowflake argument. That's stupid anyway.
基本的にあんまりご飯食べないのよこの子。でもなぜかパンと果物だけはよく食べるのよね。パンは硬いパンがいいのよさ。
Really? Is that style of bread or you just like it dry? Hard bread? What's with that?
ほらフランスパンとか、
Okay.
ドイツの方の硬いパンあるでしょ。
Yeah, that's what I was thought. That makes sense.
日本人は普通さ、ふわふわでもちもちしたパンが好きなんだけど、なぜかこの子は重くて硬いパンが好きなのよね。
My unwarranted opinion, both have their place. Depends on what you're making. And from what I've seen of Japanese bread, sadly I haven't experienced it, but based on the descriptions I've seen and how soft and fluffy they tend to make it, first of all, most bread in Japan sounds like it's more like a dessert type bread, like something that you would like have as a dessert rather than like making a sandwich. And it also just seems like it would be, I don't know, terrible for holding lots of the stuff I would normally make into a sandwich. So, yeah, it makes sense.
ふにゃふにゃしたパンなんざ歯の悪いグランマの食い物なのよさ。パンはやっぱ ぱりどっしりとした重みと歯ごたえがないと美味しくないのよさ。
That smirk. That smirk is the best.
まあ朝はあんまり食べたがらないんだけど、チーズとハムとレタスをライ麦パンに挟んだサンドイッチならもりもり食べるわよ。
That does sound delicious. I see.
ねえアマネ、私もう本読んでいい？いいわよ。ちゃんと床に座って読みなさい。ユージくんの膝の上でジュースこぼしたりしないように。
It's interesting because like sometimes it feels like mother-daughter, but I really still think it's more of like older sister, younger sister. It's just a very maternal older sister.
はーい。
You don't have it easy, do you, Amane?
まあ手のかかる子だけど、そこが可愛いって思えばあまり苦にはならないし、変な子だなとは思うけど、これがあの子の素の状態なのよね。
I'm the sort who tend to suspect the girl's purposely acting younger than her age to take advantage of her childish looks, but in this case, I don't think I can disagree. That really is just how she is.
それにね、あの子自分で自分のことバカだって言うけど、そんなに頭が悪いわけじゃないのよ。むしろ私なんかよりずっと頭いいんだから。
Yuji's gonna agree, but he's probably gonna agree in a very snarky way. Well, I suppose if we use you as a standard, the gap isn't quite that dramatic, but...
失礼な。というか、マキナを侮っちゃダメよ。証拠見せてあげようか？
I'm glad I know Yuji pretty well by now. Demonstration.
マキナ、ちょっとおいで。何なのよさ。あんたその本読み終わった？そうね、大体は。じゃあその本ちょっと貸してみ。問題出してあげる。いいけど。
Amane takes the book from Makina and promptly hands it over to me.
そんじゃ161ページ。動物の進化シリーズ、大型恐竜の時代、中生代ジュラ紀。
She has an eidetic memory. Ooh, that's pretty cool.
約1億4600年前から2億年前。中生代第2の時代はジュラ紀と呼ばれ、恐竜の時代としてよく知られている。
I'm sure it has a lot of disadvantages and just annoyances, but like, wouldn't it be so cool to have an eidetic memory like that? To be able to just have such crystal clear, like, recollection of things? They make it sound like it's like permanent, but part of me can't believe that. Can you really like, I can see her like looking at a page and then being able to like reconstruct it in her head perfectly for like the next day, maybe the next week, even a year. But like, if you have an eidetic memory, can you remember with crystal clarity books you read in high school like that? Like, for me, it feels like that just, your brain wouldn't be able to categorize things that well, but like maybe it does. I don't know. I've never met anybody with a true eidetic memory. I've met people with some pretty astonishing memories, but not eidetic memories.
三畳紀に出現した恐竜たちは数多くの種を生み出し、その繁栄は後の白亜紀まで続く。あれ？これってザリガニの本じゃないの？
It's a general book about animals aimed at children. There's a lot of other stuff in there as well. I opened the book Amane had handed to me to page 161. Spread across both pages, it's a color illustration of plesiosaur with words in bold white typeface printed all around it.
内容は合ってる？
She was indeed. Without even a single misplaced word.
じゃあ次は29ページ。そこは広告ページ。合文社の子供の学習シリーズ、働く自動車、神秘の世界宇宙、野鳥で見る環境科学、絶滅した愉快な動物。
That's freaking cool, but I also must imagine that like it's like any like oddity people have. It's like the worst part about having it is as soon as people find out, they all want to test it, you know? So like, I imagine this would come up every single time they bring up the idea of her memory. It's kind of similar to like a friend of mine who I met who had color blindness, like pretty severe color blindness. And I was talking to him, and it was funny because like we were just having a conversation, and I was interested in saying that. I was like, all right, so my question was like, all right, so since you see things a little differently, like what color would you say is your favorite and why? And like we discussed that, and he like turned to me afterwards. He's just like, you're the first person who hasn't done the typical like tests right after I find out that you're colorblind. I was like, what do you mean? He's like, the first thing people tend to do when they find out I'm colorblind is they point at stuff and say, what color is that? What color is that? And it's like, he says, it gets so annoying. And like, especially because like he'll say, I'm colorblind, and then they point to like a stop sign and say, what color is that? And he says, that's red. And they're like, well, I mean, yeah, like, it doesn't sound like you're colorblind. He's like, no, you don't understand. Like, I've learned what that color is, but I can't distinguish it from other colors very well, especially if they're the same shade. Like, he has to explain it, and people like won't believe it, or when they see evidence of it, they'll still be like, no, try this now. You know, like, I understand excitement and interest in something different, but at the same time, like, it would get so annoying if it's literally like the most common icebreaker between you and other people. And imagine with eidetic memories, it's the same thing. It's like time after time after time, people want you to prove that you can do it.
日本の工場、コンタクトレンズができるまで、土と微生物の働き、有機栽培の野菜作り。じゃあ86ページは？猫より犬の方が賢いって本当？犬の種類の多様性は他の種をはるかにしのぎ、多岐にわたる。
Oh, that's because of us.
長年人間の手によって交配されてきた犬の歴史は、狩猟用や刀剣用や愛玩用と様々なバリエーションを生み出し。どう？合ってるでしょ？
Huh, she's correct, all right.
どうよ、すごくない？この短時間でパラパラっと流し読みしただけで、あの本の内容丸々一冊全部覚えちゃったんだよ。天才じゃない？
Well, yes, but at the same time, you know, eidetic memory is something that I don't know if you can develop that. I'm pretty sure it's something that you're essentially born with. It doesn't necessarily mean you're a genius, because knowing things and utilizing them are very different things. Makina has the potential to be fantastically brilliant, and probably is in a lot of ways, that she might suppress or doesn't have confidence in. But it's entirely possible, too, that she just never utilizes that talent for anything. It would suck. I hope that that's not the case, but it's always a possibility. Yeah, that's pretty amazing to be sure.
あれ？あんまり驚いてないね。
Makina, I've got a question. Do you remember the photograph of the bird on page 144?
覚えてるのよ。
What color is it? Interesting.
わかんない。
So maybe it's only text-based. If I say blue, you'd sort of think blue, but if I say red, you're going to get the feeling it might be red.
うん。
Thought so.
なーに？どういうこと？
Seems like Makina memorizes the pages in monochrome, loses the color information.
え？
Easier to memorize it quickly that way, right?
そういうことなのよさ。
But how do you just do that? What? Can you choose to do that?
いや、ごめん。私にはさっぱりわからない。
To tell the truth, my sister had the exact same skill. I first noticed my big sister speed reading when she was 7 years old. Watching her flip through a stack of books from the school library incredibly quickly, I couldn't suppress my curiosity. Can you really read them like that? My sister answered, I'm not reading them, but I am memorizing the contents in a perfectly casual tone of voice. So, oh yeah, I'm not reading, I'm memorizing. Completely incredulous, I tested my sister on the spot, exactly like Amane did with Makina just now. Gave her a page number and asked her to read me back the contents. And of course, she remembered every single word. According to her, it's much faster to memorize the books when they're in black and white. When dealing with books where color information wasn't important, she could even memorize 2 pages simultaneously using her left and right eye. Fetch me, that would be insane. I was totally dumbfounded at the time. 4 years later, by the time she was 11, my sister was managing rapid memorization of colored books as well. And thanks to long hours of practice, her left and right eye could actually memorize separate books simultaneously. Hearing that fetch me, what the heck? Hearing that went past my level of surprise. It was outright terrifying. Yeah, I got her free. That puts computers to shame. Basically, she's not reading the book. She's recording the pages as an image in the right side of her brain. I mean, it's interesting because like I'm such a visual person. Like I see and construct things in my head as memories, as pictures, but like I can't do snapshots like that. Like I can't look at a page, take a mental picture of it, and then recreate it perfectly in my head. I can recreate it generally. Also, a big part of it too is like, it might be because I'm I'm an impressionist type of visual learner, because I'll read a page, but what I'm reading, I'm not seeing the words, I'm conceptualizing like what it's talking about. So when when she was reading back the document about like the dinosaurs, like I was seeing images of dinosaurs and then a picture of a timeline with a Jurassic and Cretaceous periods kind of arced on it, with impressions of like the types of dinosaurs that I remembered being like attributed to those time periods. And like, that's how I remembered that. And so like, I could tell you exactly how she phrased that, because in my head, I just saw pictures. I didn't see the words, and I can't visualize the picture of the visual novel like that screenshot. Like, I'd have to rewind and go back to kind of see the exact phrasing. But I also could tell you a lot about what was being discussed at that time because of the way I remember stuff. So it's really interesting because like, this is very clearly a different version of a highly visual learner. When you ask her about the content, she reproduced the images in her right brain and reads it by consciously interpreting the characters with her left brain. That sound about right, Makina?
そうそう。うまく説明できないけど、そういうことなのよさ。
It's freaking amazing. And I wonder how many people can actually do this.
わかんないな。具体的にはどうやってるの?
I don't know the details myself, but it's basically looking at the pages of the picture instead of the lines of characters and saving the mental snapshot. Ignoring the meaning, she processes it rapidly as light information, then draws out the meaning later if she needs it. To put it more simply, it's sort of like she's downloading a compressed file in her hard drive, then extracting what she needs later, I guess.
何それ? つまり、本を読み終わった時点では、本の内容を知らないってこと?
No, that's the thing. That's the difference. She doesn't know the content. She doesn't comprehend the content. She simply can pull up what she needs, like a reference, almost like she's like I said, it was actually apt comparing her to a computer, because that's really more of what it's like. It's like it just stores the information, but doesn't do anything with it until it's called upon, like to recall it. Yeah, exactly.
私の一番の問題は、一度覚えたはずなのに、その記憶をどこにしまったか忘れちゃうことなのよさ。
That would drive me crazy. Knowing that it's probably in there somewhere, but I don't know. That's almost worse than feeling like you have to know, but you can't quite conceptualize it properly, or you know you're missing information. To literally be like, oh, it's in there. I just don't know where it is.
ダメじゃん!
Even if you can record something in your mind, your memory as a whole can still be disorganized mess. Apparently, you can work on that by training your synapses.
どうやって?
Practice. If you repeatedly memorize the same information, it stimulates the synapses and makes it harder to forget. My sister would record the same image 8 times over before she turned the page. Other than that, you can also memorize while moving your body in specific ways, which ties the image to your procedural memory, makes it more durable. That's true. It's actually one of the things, like, associating memory with other senses is a highly effective way of making things solidify, which is why smell, for instance, can easily bring back powerful memories. Like, if you smell bread cooking, I imagine you'd immediately have flashbacks to any time you've been able to eat, like, recently cooked bread, like maybe your mom or your grandmother made it, or going into a bakery. Like, those memories will be really strong. And taste can also do that, but not as many people experience that, because even when the same person makes the same food, it often has slight variations in the flavor. So you don't often like tie a specific taste to a specific memory, or at least if you do, it's difficult to recreate. It happened to me once with an Orange Julius, because Orange Julius is really simple and the method of making it's very standard. So when I had one, I had a gap of like 12 years between the first time I had one and the second time I had one. And when I had it the second time, I came with an explosion of like vivid memories from my childhood, which was such a crazy thing to experience. To be able to be like, I genuinely have a concept of that part of my childhood, but then to have it be like brought so vividly to the front of my mind, like so almost violently. It was almost like going on a bit of like an existential trip, because I was just sitting there with my friends having a conversation. I take a sip of this Orange Julius, and then suddenly I wasn't even there anymore. In my head, I spent a good 5 minutes going rapid fire through just these memories of when I was 6 years old. And like just literally my brain like just going in overdrive for a second of like almost like watching a quick movie of like a whole year of my life that had somehow been punctuated by the flavor of Orange Julius for these like these very like specific memories. It was really interesting.
よくわかんねえ。
That's fine. Not like there's any reason you have to turn into a genius like that.
そうそう。天才になったところで得られるのは賞賛じゃなくて敵意と嫉妬だって言うじゃない?
Yeah, but it's worth it. Like if you have the capability, we all should strive to be geniuses. Most of us just can't. Who's they and where'd you hear that?
誰だっけ? なんかの本で読んだような気がするけど覚えてないわ。ねえ、アマネ。ザリガニに餌あげる時間だよ。はいはい。今缶詰開けてあげるからちょっと待ってなさい。
Okay, guess I'll be going back to my room, but as the words start to leave my mouth, Makina firmly grabs hold of my hand.
ねえ、座って。一緒に本を読んでほしいのよさ。
Didn't you finish already?
そうだけど一緒にいてほしいのよさ。
Well, when you say it like that. No, that's really not what I meant.
ねえ、知ってる？女には男に甘えたい日があるものなのよ。
I guess that's usually most days. And it doesn't have to be a guy. I think all of us like to be spoiled. Oh, that's the first I've heard of it.
それがなんと今日なのよさ。だから甘えさせてくれなきゃダメなのよ。
I see. Guess there's no helping it then. I want to be spoiled, so you better spoil me. What an unreasonable demand. If this was Amane, I think I would laugh in her face, call her an idiot, and finish things off with a poke in the forehead. But for some reason, when Makina gets all clingy, it's a bit difficult to fight back. Can't get myself to be too hard on her. Maybe it's because she looks and acts like a child? Soft on children? Well, that isn't a bad thing by any means, but I'm probably the type who dies first when the terrorists start strapping bombs to their kids. Ugh, I'd die too. I wouldn't be able to do much against that. I'd just be like, what am I gonna do? Like, that's such a crappy thing that people do, huh? But now that I think about it, it's not like you're really that much younger than me, are you?
Huh?
Don't give me that puzzled face.
まあまあ、ほら、こっち来て座って。そして抱っこしてちょうだい。
Look, just for the record, today's a one-time deal. Don't think I'm gonna let you cling to me whenever you want, got it?
はいはい。
Oh no!
もう、お兄ちゃんってば本当にツンデレなんだから。
She knows what she's doing. Ah! My soul! Again, with this. I'd never really given the matter any thought, but could it be that I really am a tsundere? I mean, can we define the term first? Isn't the tsundere the subspecies of women that usually are prickly and harsh, but then go all gooey and sweet for some reason? Well, it doesn't have to be women, right? Like, I'm guessing there's an inherent femininity to the term, but like, is it gender specified in Japanese? I'm guessing tsundere is just simply, you know, prickly, but like having warm feelings. In that case, I don't get it. When exactly have I ever been in that shinary lovey-dovey mode? Well, come to think of it, and letting Makina occupy my knee like this, I have to admit my aura of masculinity seems to have faded a bit. But this is merely an expression of my magnanimous spirit towards the young. It's not like I'm giving her lap access because I personally enjoy having her there or anything.
そうだ。ねえ、ユージくん。
Huh? What?
そういえばさ、ザリガニの餌ってサバの水煮缶でもいいのかな?
Ah, yeah, basically anything with carotene in it's fine.
おや?
What's that supposed to mean? What is it already? You're making me ill. If you have something to say, how about you say it?
いやー、なんかもうすっかり懐いてるなーと。いいな、羨ましい。
You're the one who told me to make friends with Makina, you know.
やだな、別に責めてないじゃない。でも正直こんなに早く馴染むとは思ってなかったからちょっと意外かな。
I mean, probably for the best, right? Oh my gosh! Aww, oh gosh, it's so cute!
あれ、 マキナ寝ちゃった？
Say, what? I thought she'd been unusually quiet for a few seconds there, but at some point, Makina's eyes must have fallen shut. Still sitting on my lap, her head is jerking back and forth with her breathing. I'm sure she's awake just a minute ago.
ああ、マキナはね、たまにあるのよ。そうやって突然寝ちゃうことが。
Sounds like me right now, honestly. Come to think of it, there was that time I found her in that rose garden, unconscious in the bushes. A frequent occurrence.
まあ、頭をたくさん使った時とかたまにね。さっき本を読んでたからそれが原因かも。
Oh, interesting. So she doesn't just have like what I'm guessing is very physical limitations, but her mental like muscles, you could say, are also probably under strain. Maybe because she spent so much time in the hospital, I imagine her schooling and education was very limited. So maybe she's never got used to practicing heavy workloads mentally.
その子、放っておくと1日14時間ぐらい眠るのよ。
Oh, God, preach! God, it's not by choice, but for God, fetch me. Really does remind you of a cat, doesn't she?
時々立ったまま寝ちゃうことがあって、
Oh my
そのまま
gosh.
倒れて頭を打ったりするから気をつけないといけないんだけど。
That sounds really dangerous. Okay. Because, like, that's the thing. Is like, I definitely have sleep attacks nowadays. I tend to sleep about 13 hours a day because I'll have these moments where I just will collapse in exhaustion of fatigue. Usually followed by some kind of mental or physical exertion, but even very minor exertions will tend to like cripple me for a few hours if I'm not careful. And I'll just be unable to be able to do much. Like, even after this recording, I'm going to set things up afterwards and I'm going to have to go and like sleep because it takes a lot out of me now, which is really sad because it's like I'm sitting at a computer, right? You'd think that's like the least exerting thing you can do. But like even this gets to it, like it's something that brings a lot of fatigue now, which is really just sad. So she seems to suffer something similar, but on a more grand scale, which is crazy.
今日はユージくんの膝の上で助かったわ。
I don't get it. Why get all attached to a guy like me?
そう？私にはなんとなくだ。そう、例えばさ、ユージくんはマキナのことを見て、かわいそうな子だなって思う？
No, can't say it does. More like, what a hopeless kid. I can't say I've ever felt pity for her.
でしょ？まずはそれが一番の理由じゃないかな。
Exactly. You treated her like a person. You didn't treat her like a delicate flower of just innocence and like, you know, like, oh, it sucks to be you. I'm going to be kind to you because your life is not very good. It's like, no one wants to be treated like that. Like, even if we have like tough things going on in life, like maybe even people who have disabilities, like, I can't speak for everybody, obviously, but the people I have interacted with, it's like, the people don't want special treatment. They just want to be treated like a person. They want to feel validated. They want to feel like enriched. They want to feel like their opinions matter and that people are like conscious and care for them as an individual and can see past any of those limitations that they're experiencing, whether they're physical, mental, or anything. It's like one of those things that gets odd because like you try to be so considerate and accepting, and you can go flipping right off the edge of that cliff and fall right into like enabling and like patronizing, and it becomes just as problematic as being like unaware or like what's it called when you're, I know the word, when you don't allow like information about like the differences between people. Oh gosh. Non-sensitive, something that's with an I. It's gonna hit me, but I'm gonna move on. Hopefully you understand what I was trying to get at. Stupid brain fog. Okay, over your number one reason. Is there a number two reason?
そうね。ユージくん本人はあんまり自覚がないかもしれないけど、ユージくんってマキナのこと嫌いじゃないでしょ？
I can't
と
speak.
いうか、ちょっと可愛いと思ってない？
I can't speak for Yuuji, but me, it'd be like, well, yeah, but like as a sister. I'm not sure about that one. Well, I definitely don't hate her. That said, I think I've thought of her as annoying more often than cute. Maybe you've got the wrong idea about me, Amane, but I tend to say what I think, even to kids. When Makina annoys me, I tell her straight out.
そうやってマキナが膝の上で寝ちゃってるのにどかそうともしない人の言うことじゃないよ、それ。
Well, it doesn't mean, like, just because I'm, like, blunt doesn't mean I have to be an a-hole. Huh, that's... Well, I just don't have any reason to wake her up in the moment, I guess.
でもまあ、そうだね。変に我慢して同情されるより、はっきりと言ってくれる人の方がわかりやすいのね、マキナには。
Yeah, and honestly, it might not even just be like it's easier for her to understand. It might be just simply like she appreciates that. Because that's something for me. Like, I totally understand, like, intrigue. I understand subversion. I get all that. In fact, I can usually suss it out pretty easily. But because of that, I highly personally value bluntness. I love it when people are just direct. I love it when people are able to tell me their honest thoughts and don't feel like they have to sugarcoat things. Like, I don't like it when people are cruel, but I also appreciate it when people are just upfront about things and say, like, you know, this is what I think. And it's like, yeah, well, I'm at least I know where you stand. Like, that means a lot more to me than, like, you know, like empty words. I don't treat her gingerly out of sympathy. When she does something truly stupid, I don't overlook it out of pity. And Makina actually prefers it that way. Is that what she's saying?
それでいて、結局はマキナに甘いしね。そりゃ懐くわよ。
Fair. I'm sweet to her?
まあいいんじゃない？そういうらしくないところも含めて、ユージくんなんだしさ。
Why is that out of character? Since when were you such an expert on my character?
マキナ起きた？私、また寝ちゃってた。まあ、15分ぐらいかな。何か夢を見た？覚えてない。そっか。じゃあ、はい。何？サバ缶だよ。ザリガニに餌をあげるんでしょ？
Oh, right.
そっか。
She's so sleepy.
さあ、たくさん食べて、まるまると太るのよ。
She's kind of tottering around. Is that a good idea?
いつものことだし平気よ。
Why are you eating it?
味がしないのよ。
I guess it's not a problem per se, because it's just mackerel in a can, but still, like, stop that. You sure about that? She seems to be eating from the can of crawfish food.
いつものことだし平気よ。
You know, it kind of feels like you don't really give a darn.
それもいつものことよ。
Uh-huh. My throat sticks shut halfway through my attempt at a laugh, and I'm sent into a coughing fit.
ちょっと大丈夫？
Amane grabs the half-finished can of orange juice Makina left laying on the table and hands it over to me. I gulp down the contents immediately. I'm fine. I'm as terrible at laughing as I am smiling. Also par for the course.
それはいつか直してあげなきゃね。
Fix? Why is that necessary? In the first place, it's a crappy smile really something you could fix?
まあ、とりあえず、あんたの作り物っぽい笑顔と、マキナのデタラメな言葉遣いを直してあげるのが、私の当面の目標かな。
Okay.
もう、私の言葉遣いのどこがおかしいっていうのよさ。まず自分の言葉遣いがおかしいってことに、本人が気がついていないってのが一番の問題よね。うっさいしゃくれ
What is it, chin face?
あんたなんやその口の利き方。しゃくれてへんわほんで。これ待ち。いやー、ダメー。
Oh boy.
こんこはほんま誰に似たんか口の悪い。ええ加減にせんとお口縫うてまうよ。
Every once in a while, you'll find a person with a bad habit they're not even aware of until somebody points it out to them. Watching this scene, I've had my suspicions more or less confirmed. Makina's strange quirks seem to be partially the result of contamination from Amane's less admirable habits. But as a humble and discreet gentleman, I am frankly at a loss as to whether to disrupt the status quo by informing Amane of the log in her eye. Yeah, so like instead of getting the mite out of somebody else's eye, like fix the beam that's in yours. My deeply ingrained pain in the butt warning system is also kicking in. There's a good chance the messenger is going to get killed in this one, so my lips remain sealed for the moment. The human mind is a well-designed piece of machinery. It has ways to cope with the coexistence of such pros and cons, truths and fictions. When your mind finds itself facing a contradiction, your thoughts tend to fly off in completely unrelated directions. It's a self-defense mechanism, just like that burning need to clean that always pops up in the night before a big test. So before I realize it, my attention has been drawn to the pleasant rattling sounds of something boiling in the pan. The Odin broth's smooth, flavorful smell tickles my nose. I'm hungry. In the end, it would be another 30 minutes before I ate my dinner for that day. Well, normally we do a lot more than that, but that seems to be about what we're going to have for today, because I talked a lot, and it was a very interesting interaction. Babe, welcome to the Coconut's return. It's always a pleasure to have them making an appearance, and also in-your-face reminder that I removed Steam's like limiters and have gone into like the pure essential format of this story. So yeah, it's always good. Anyway, thank you so much for joining me. Hope you enjoyed yourself. I'm working on some stuff on the behind the scenes. I'm hoping to be able to have some new projects coming out in the future. Been really fun, but it's been keeping me really busy to the point where like I don't even do stuff with friends anymore. Like I used to like try and set aside a couple evenings a week to do stuff with my friends, but lately it just hasn't been happening. I've just been editing, which is cool. Like I enjoy it. Like I love making content, and I have like I said, like it's fun to have like new and interesting things on the horizon. But it's also a bit sad because like I don't want like this isn't a job, it's a hobby. And I don't want a hobby to completely consume all the free time I have. And like, you know, there's family considerations and all of that. So like it's finding a balance is a struggle, but it's a worthwhile struggle. And like I'm grateful, but mostly I'm just grateful that there's people who are worth making content for, that there's those of you out there who actually enjoy what I make. And I really appreciate that. So thanks for being here, and thanks for finding the channel and sticking around. So hopefully there's more for you to stick around for in the future. And especially to thank you to the patrons and supporters and members who make it so that I can continue to pursue this with like this more aggressive style, with this more experimental style where I'm like trying new things and going to see, you know, what you all think about it. It gives me that room and flexibility to kind of be a bit more off the cuff, and that's really, really meaningful to me. So thank you so much. I hope you all had a good time with me today. I hope you had a good start to your weekend, and that, you know, there's good things on the horizon for all of us. I'm trying to be a lot more optimistic too, because like it always feels like the world, like we're surrounded with lots of bad news, but I mean, we're heading into the end of the year. We're heading into some of the best holidays of the year, whether you celebrate them or not. It's just like, it's a good time. And I want to try and make sure that we have continue to have a good uplifting experience here. So thank you. And I appreciate you being here, and I appreciate your role in everything I do. So thank you. And until the next video watching me, I'll see you next. I'll see you there.